life can feel like a constant balancing act, can it?
Oh, definitely.
The demands of our faith, our families, our careers,
Hmm.
all pulling us in different directions.
Mm.
It really makes you wonder, is it truly possible for these crucial parts of life to not just coexist, but actually, I don't know, support and strengthen each other?
Yeah, that feeling of being stretched thin is so common. We often kind of operate under this assumption, I think, that excelling in one area inevitably means sacrificing in another.
Right, like you have to choose. And that's exactly the knot we're trying to untangle today. Our mission in this deep dive, really, is to explore how individuals intentionally place their faith right at the center of this whole balancing act.
Yeah.
We've been really immersing ourselves in the personal, practical stories shared over on the Faith Beams GP podcast.
And these aren't just abstract theories, are they? Our sources are the real-life experiences of, entrepreneurs, parents, people like us.
Exactly.
People actively striving to integrate their faith into their businesses and their homes.
Absolutely. We're not looking for some kind of perfect formula, but for those genuine insights, those everyday strategies that show how prioritizing faith doesn't mean neglecting family or career.
Right, practical stuff.
We want actionable takeaways, things you can actually use. Okay, so to kick things off, let's really dig into this. Why is this whole pursuit of balance, weaving together faith, family, career, why is it so fundamentally important?
Well, it touches on a really core human desire, I think, for integration,
Hmm.
for wholeness. There's often this underlying pressure, isn't there, to segment our lives.
Totally compartmentalized.
Yeah, exactly. To believe that, our spiritual selves operate over here, our family over there, and our professional lives in yet another box.
It's like we have to wear different hats all the time, switch them constantly. But the perspective that really resonated from the source material, it suggests a different approach altogether.
Precisely. The invitation we see, it's actually to do the opposite,
Mm.
to invite God into every single corner of our lives, not just, Sunday mornings or the big life-altering decisions.
But the everyday stuff.
Yeah, the daily routines, the challenges at work, the joys at home, everything.
And this brings us to a really foundational idea captured so well in Matthew 6.33. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well.
What's particularly, thought-provoking about this verse is that idea of priority. It suggests that by focusing first on our relationship with God, the other essential elements of our lives aren't diminished,
Right.
but rather they find their proper alignment. They find support.
So it's less like a strict hierarchy.
Maybe, yeah. More like establishing a central anchor, something that stabilizes everything else.
Okay, that makes sense. So if that's the principle, seeking God first, the crucial question then becomes, how does that practically translate, into our busy everyday lives filled with deadlines and diaper changes?
Ah, yes.
This is where it gets really interesting as we start exploring some concrete examples.
Exactly. Because understanding the why is important, definitely.
Right.
But seeing the how in action, that's where the real inspiration and practical guidance comes from.
Yeah.
And the Faith Beams GP podcast offered some truly insightful personal stories on this.
Okay, like who?
Well, we heard about Emma. She's a mother of two, runs her own home-based business.
Okay.
And what struck me was her intentionality, especially in structuring her mornings. She dedicates that crucial early time to prayer and family devotionals before even thinking about work emails.
That word feels key there.
It is. It's a conscious decision, isn't it, to set
Yeah.
the spiritual tone for the entire day. It's not just, trying to fit faith in somewhere.
Squeeze it in.
Right. It's allowing faith to actually frame everything that follows.
Then there's Chris's story. A father navigating the pretty demanding world of a tech startup.
Uh-huh. High pressure there.
Totally. And what stood out was his proactive approach to safeguarding family time. He deliberately blocks out evenings for family dinners and makes sure bedtime prayers are a consistent part of their routine.
See, Chris's example really highlights the need for setting boundaries, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
In our, hyper-connected world, protecting those sacred spaces for family and faith, it requires conscious effort.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to say no sometimes.
You really do. It's about aligning your schedule with your deepest values, I suppose.
Exactly. And then we also learned from Rosa and Victor. They're a married couple, run a catering business together.
Ah, interesting dynamic.
Yeah. And their shared faith is just woven right into the fabric of their company. They make it a practice to pray together before any significant business event.
Oh.
and they actively lean on their faith as a united front when they face those inevitable hurdles of entrepreneurship.
That synergy, that power of shared faith in a partnership, whether it's marriage or business.
It's remarkable, isn't it? It provides this common language, a shared source of strength, and a unified perspective when you're navigating both the wins and the setbacks.
So pulling all these experiences together, these stories, what's the core message? It's clearly not about achieving some, mythical, perfect equilibrium where everything gets precisely equal attention all the time.
Not at all, no. The recurring theme seems to be the active, ongoing invitation, inviting God's guidance into every facet of their lives as parents, as professionals, as spouses.
So it's more about the orientation.
Yes, a consistent orientation towards faith in everything they do.
Okay, so we've seen these principles in action through Emma, Chris, Rosa, and Victor. Now let's talk practicals. What are some concrete faith-first action plans that we can, take away from these conversations?
Yeah, several practical strategies definitely emerged. Firstly, the consistent prioritization of spiritual routines.
Okay.
Even if it's just a few moments each day dedicated to scripture or prayer, the emphasis here isn't really on grand gestures or long hours.
Right, it's a consistency.
Exactly. It's the regularity of that connection.
Yeah.
Building that daily habit of seeking God even when the schedule feels totally packed.
Makes sense. What else?
Second key strategy was the importance of open, honest communication within the family.
Okay. About what specifically?
About schedules, yeah, but also about individual needs and about those core shared values that guide the family.
That collaborative element feels crucial.
It really is. When families communicate openly about their commitments and their shared faith values, it just creates a stronger sense of unity, doesn't it? And mutual support in navigating all those demands.
Yeah, it moves it from just individual juggling.
Right, to more of a team effort.
Okay. And was there a third one?
Yes, a third really powerful strategy that came up was intentionally protecting the Sabbath.
Setting aside that dedicated day for rest, for worship, even when work and family stuff seems endless.
Exactly. And that intentional downtime, it's not just about physical rest, though that's important. It's really about spiritual rejuvenation.
Like a reset button.
Sort of.
Wow.
It's a reminder that our worth isn't just tied to our productivity, and that reconnecting with God and loved ones is a vital rhythm for life.
And these practical steps, the routine, the communication, the Sabbath rest, they really seem to underscore the wisdom in Proverbs 3.56, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight.
It fits perfectly.
It really does, because as we've seen in these examples, true balance isn't solely about our own clever time management or, brilliant strategies.
Our own effort.
Right. It flows from a fundamental trust in God's direction and a willingness to align our lives with His principles in every area.
Now, it wasn't just the main podcast guests who offered valuable insights, was it? You mentioned that listeners of the Faith Beams GP podcast also shared their experiences.
Yes, that's right. And hearing from the wider community really reinforces how universal this whole pursuit is. It's not just entrepreneurs or specific family types.
What did you hear?
Well, we heard from Sophie. She's a single mother and a teacher. She shared how she uses short morning devotionals as her anchor.
Just a few minutes.
Yeah, just short ones, but consistently.
Yeah.
Her grounding practice before a really demanding day in the classroom.
That really highlights how adaptable these faith practices can be, doesn't it? Finding those meaningful moments, whatever your specific circumstances are.
Absolutely. It's not one size fits all. And then there was David. He's a father of 4, works in retail management.
Okay.
His family intentionally dedicates Sunday afternoons to worship and also to activities that specifically strengthen their family bonds, all rooted in their faith.
So that emphasizes the importance of not just individual faith, but that shared family faith experience, deliberately carving out that time together.
Making it a priority.
So what's the kind of big takeaway from these listener contributions, these extra stories?
Well, I think it really circles back beautifully to our core theme, regardless of the specific roles we play, parent, professional, single, married, whatever.
Yeah.
Placing God at the center seems to be the foundational key, the key to finding a sense of balance and purpose and strength through it all.
This has been so encouraging to walk through. And the source material also offered some really direct encouragement too, didn't it? Reminders of God, the promises, which is something, well, Something we can all hold on to when things feel tough.
Yes, definitely. In those moments when we feel overwhelmed or, inadequate, just remembering these promises can be such a powerful source of strength. Isaiah 40.2931.
Ah, yes.
It reminds us, He gives strength to the weary, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength.
That image of renewed strength. It's so vital when you feel like you're constantly giving out, like you have nothing left.
It really is. And then there's that powerful declaration in Philippians 4:20. I can do all this through Him who gives me strength.
That verse speaks so directly to that feeling of facing responsibilities that just seem too big, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It reminds us that our ability, our capacity, it comes not just from our own limited resources,
Right.
but from a source of infinite strength.
And to really help us, integrate these truths into our daily lives, the Faith Beams GP podcast folks shared some daily faith declarations, which I think are incredibly helpful tools.
Yeah, these affirmations are a way to actively speak truth over our lives, aren't they?
Yeah.
To continually recenter our focus on God.
What were some of them?
Well, powerful statements like, God gives me strength to balance family and work.
Just saying that out loud. Powerful.
Yeah.
My home is covered by God's peace. Wow, what a comforting affirmation to carry with you through the day.
Mhm. And I trust God to guide my business and my family. A daily reminder of where our ultimate direction comes from.
Yeah. And I'm growing, learning, and walking in grace.
I like that one.
Me too. It acknowledges the journey, right? The imperfections and the constant support we receive along the way.
Spot on.
Mm.
And finally, God's wisdom helps me prioritize what matters most.
Which is so essential when we're faced with so many competing demands on our time and our energy.
That,
So these aren't just like nice sentiments, they're practical tools we can actually use every single day to ground ourselves and our priorities in faith.
well said.
So, as we bring this deep dive to a close, the core message that just shines through is the very real possibility and, frankly, the profound importance of intentionally integrating our faith into the everyday realities of our family lives and our careers.
Yeah, it's not impossible.
No. We've explored some really inspiring stories, uncovered practical strategies, all firmly rooted in a strong spiritual foundation.
And that leads us, I think, to a final point for you, the listener, to consider. Reflecting on everything we've discussed today, how can you intentionally invite God into one specific area of your life? Maybe it's your work, maybe your family dynamics, or perhaps just your own personal spiritual journey starting today.
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? It doesn't need to be some monumental shift overnight, just one deliberate step.
One small step.
We really encourage you to think about the stories and the strategies we've explored and consider how you might apply these principles, just one perhaps, within your own unique circumstances.
Yeah. May your ongoing journey of seeking that balance and prioritizing your faith be filled with, well, renewed hope and strength and a deeper sense of purpose.